Friends, delegates, and fellow Americans, I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States. The first task for our new administration will be to liberate our citizens from the crime and terrorism and lawlessness that threatens our communities. In this race for the White House, I am the law and order candidate. Nobody knows the system better than me. Which is why I alone can fix it.
And good morning. It's Friday, July 22nd. We have a little bit of a debate here in Flannery. Mike Barnicle.
Mike Barnicle, there he is. It's in New York.
Yeah, you're getting jeered at.
Luna knows where the truck is. She knows.
We're once more live from Cleveland, which clearly is on my side here, as the Republican National Convention came to an end last night. Along with Joe, Willie, and me, we have columnist and MSNBC contributor Mike Barnicle. Managing editor of Bloomberg Politics and co-host of With All Due Respect, Mark Halperin. And MSNBC political analyst and former chairman of the Republican National Committee, Michael Steele, joins us.
You know, really going through these conventions, it's so nice that the chants have changed a little bit. You know, we have "Where's the truck?" Where 4 years ago, whenever Mike spoke, they were saying, "What the heck? What the heck?" You know, I mean, so to go from that to "What the heck?" It's very positive. Hey, let's talk about the speech last night. And Mark Halperin, I may be standing alone here. I think Donald Trump did what Donald Trump was supposed to do. I don't know if they expected sunshine and flowers, but it was a dark speech. We have been saying for 2 months now, with everybody's low approval ratings, that you were not going to win the presidency. You were going to disqualify the other candidate. We've been saying it for months now. Everybody acting so shocked that conventions are sometimes negative. Remember poor George? He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Right.
They are always personal.
It was a center-right indictment of the current conditions in the country and an insistence that he's the one who can change things. And that is his winning message. I thought as a matter of sort of craftsmanship, it was a decently written speech. He delivered it well. He showed a range of knowing when to pause. He handled
facial expression.
He handled a heckler in a way he's never done before. And I thought both in the room and on television, he executed what he wanted to do. Again, an indictment of the status quo. I expected there to be more humor in it and a little bit more personality. He showed one little bit there where he made that face. But I think overall, he may have executed the wrong thing, but he executed what he and his campaign wanted to.
Well, he certainly executed the wrong thing for the media elites that were watching last night. And everybody said, oh, a dark speech. Listen, it's not the speech I would have given. It's not the speech any of us would have given. It just may be the speech that millions and millions of people in middle America have been waiting to hear for a very long time. Mike Barnicle, you've been talking about how people are scared for years. They're scared because their 401k is disappearing. They're scared because they can't get their kids in school. They're scared because they're not doing as well as their parents did. And you've been talking about this week how he's delivered a message for an America that's not that scared. I don't think we're scared because economically we're okay. But you know, a lot of people in middle America are scared. Doesn't that message play to them?
Well, he played to type last night. I mean, there were really no surprises in what he said, nor were there any surprises really in how he said it. That's how he has won thus far. Clearly, that's his plan to win in the fall. The fear thing, I think, is tough to handle. It's tough to read. There's a lot of anxiety in the country. People feel they have lost a lot. They've lost 401ks. Here in Cleveland, they were decimated. in 2008 and 2009, the foreclosure crisis. There's no doubt about that. But you want to feel a little hope for your children. That's where the fear thing comes into play, and I can't read it.
Yeah.
I mean, fear, you can't cover the country in a blanket of fear. We all woke up today and came here. A lot of people in the country wake up today and they'll go to work. Do they go to work filled with fear?
Well, I will tell you
I don't think so.
Mike, you look at the polls and Ari Fleischer, we just showed a tweet of Ari Fleischer. Willie, 7 out of 10 Americans think we're on the wrong track.
Yeah, Donald Trump painted a picture of a almost dystopian Mad Max America last night, where there's shootouts in our streets, where there's terrorism arriving at our stores, where the bridges and roads are crumbling, where the schools have all gone to hell. I'm not sure everyone in the country recognizes that America exactly, but I also don't think anyone should be surprised by Donald Trump's speech last night. These are the things he's been saying now for almost a year and a half out on the campaign trail. Anyone who thought he was going to give a Reagan-esque city on a hill kind of speech, that would have been more surprising to me than what we saw last night.
I think a lot of people feel that way, and certainly the conversations we've had on this show over the past 2 years have been talking about the decline of America, the decline of our infrastructure. So, you know, I think he was actually going there on a number of levels.
Yeah. And you talk about where the truly disadvantaged live. That is their reality every
And there's
day.
a real lack of optimism.
I think that's the important piece right there. For me, in reading the speech, it reads dystopian and dark, and I had to look that word up, by the way. It was
good word.
That's a really good word.
Very
Just
Googled it.
You know, but the way he delivered it was almost as if he took that darkness and he attached feeling to it. There was emotion to it. And I think that's why what you're saying, Mark, there's going to be this connection out there. Yeah, people are going to get up and many will go to work, but people know people who aren't going to go to work, or they went to work with a full-time job, and now it's a part-time job.
Yeah.
So this speech in many respects tried to get the emotion that's out there. That's 69% who feel that this is not in the right place. They feel this is not on the right track.
So let's